In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a raster burn using your laser. To do this, it requires prepping an image and creating some G-code that's a little different than vector burning. It's going to require a couple programs and a few steps, and we'll walk you through all of that right here. So first, you're going to need a source image. So go take a picture of something interesting to you or download something on the internet that you'd like to raster burn. Next, you're going to need a photo editing software. You can use a variety of different software, but we like to use GIMP because it's free, it's easy to use, it's open source, and it's available on both Mac and PC. In this part of the demo, I'll be showing the image manipulation on a Mac, but the steps and buttons are the same on a PC. So if you don't already have GIMP, you can get it at gimp.org, and from there, right on the front page, you can click download. Go ahead and download and install GIMP. I've done that already. And so here I've got the image that I want to burn loaded up and ready to edit. So ahead of time, I took this image and I removed the background in favor of just this white background. And something you want to note about doing image raster burns is that the lighter the color, the less power the laser is going to put into the burn. And in particular with white, that will be 0 laser power, whereas the dark areas of the dog, like his nose and eyes, will be burned at a much higher power because they need more power to burn darker. And what I'm trying to go for with this image is that I just want the dog burned. I do not want to burn the background. That's why I changed it to white. So after I've done these edits, or you've done your edits, you're going to need to do some further steps to prep this image. One of the first things I like to do is size it to the material that I'll be burning on. And to do that, you can just go into the image menu and you can go to scale image and it will bring up this window. And it normally defaults to pixels. I like to think in inches. You can also do centimeters if you'd like, or millimeters. But a real world dimension so that you can size it to whatever material that you're working on. So right now the width of this image is about 31 inches. The height is 52. That's a lot larger than I'd like. I'd like to do this more about 3 inches wide. So if I type in 3 and click into the next box, it will scale it accordingly. So this is going to come out to 3 by a little bit over 5 inches. That seems pretty good to me. So I'll press scale and you'll see that the image will resize itself. And if you want to get the image back in view so you can see it better, you can go to view and zoom and fit image in window. So that's the first step. Next, we want to turn this image to black and white. We can do that by going to Mode and Grayscale, and that will turn the image to grayscale. Next, we need to export the image from whatever format we have it in here to a Windows bitmap file. And so for that, I'll go to File, Export As, and I'll put the name ahead of time, and I'm just going to call this Cheddar in a Party Hat. And we'll call this one prepped. So it'll be a separate image file from my source image. And for file type, I'm going to hit the little plus button down here to expose the file types and scroll down until I see Windows bitmap. And I'll pick the first one here and press export. And it's going to warn me that it can't do this with an alpha channel. That's okay. So I'll press OK. And I'm going to open up compatibility options and check do not write color space information, and that's all I need to do. So we'll go ahead and export. Now we have this image exported and ready to integrate into our G-code and then burn on the laser. So next we're going to go over to our control computer, prep our G-code, and get this thing ready to burn. Now that we have our image processed, it's time to prep our G-code. Now the G-code serves the purpose of taking that image and explaining to Mach exactly how you want to burn it, for both feed rate, power level, tool number, etc. Now for those that haven't edited G-code before, this can look a little daunting. It's actually really easy. I recommend you download the code example below, and you can load this in any text editor you want. The default Windows Notepad editor is just fine. I'm using Notepad++, a free to download and very powerful text editing utility. Although for this it's not required. Notepad that comes with Windows is just fine. So we're gonna have to make a couple changes to this file, and we're gonna go over them here. One of the first commands is T99M6, and this is the command that activates the laser. It's essentially a tool change. We have chosen to number the laser tool tool number 99 so that we don't interfere with any ATC setups or other custom applications. You can actually leave this command alone unless for some reason in your setup you have specifically changed this number away from 99 in mock. These other two settings are just 0 moves at the beginning of the file. And the next one is the location of the file that you want to burn. And this one is really important. So to get the location of the file, the easiest way I found to do it in Windows is to go into Explorer and find the file that you want to burn. Now remember, this is the one that we already prepped and exported from GIMP, so we know it's ready to go. You can right-click on the file, and you can click Copy as Path. And then you can go back into here, and you can delete the path of the file that's here, and you can paste in that location. And now you want to make sure when you do this, you get the quotation marks out of here. And once you do that, that is the exact location of this file. We have that file location saved in here. We can check some of our other settings. You can change the units if you'd like. The units can be inches or millimeters. You can change the feed rate. So this is defaulted to 300 inches per minute, which is a good starting feed rate, although you can go a fair bit faster if you want. You can also go slower. I recommend starting at this feed rate and tuning as needed as you test. So the image starting corner is important as well. So the bottom left-hand corner is position 1. Bottom right-hand corner would be number 2. Top right-hand corner would be number 3. And top left-hand corner would be number 4. In this case, I'm going to start in number 1. Image color channel doesn't really matter. You can leave this at 1 because we recommend doing and are using a black and white image. You can leave invert at 0 unless you have a specific reason that you want to invert the burning of your image. And in the case of this demo that we're doing here, I don't want it inverted because, as I explained earlier, I would like the background of this image to not be burned. And I would like the ears, mouth, nose, and eyes of the dog to be burned dark like they are in the image that you're seeing here. There are options to flip the image. This can mirror it on X or Y. This can be great if you're laser rastering into a mirror or a piece of glass. Then there are power settings. So you are going to want to change these settings for the minimum and maximum amount of power that you want to burn. Typically a good starting place is between 95 and 5. So that means the maximum power level that the laser is going to burn is at 95% power. And at the minimum that it's going to burn is going to be at 5% power. And so what that means is, if we look at this image, in the nose and eyes and mouth location, those are some of the darkest colors. So the laser is going to be on at or pretty close to 95% in those sections. In the lighter sections, like over his eyes and where the sun is shining, maybe up in the party hat a little bit, that's going to be closer to the 5% amount. And you can tune the way the laser burns by changing these amounts. You're essentially capping the maximum amount or raising the least amount that it can burn. And there's no specific answer about how this is supposed to work on every material and every surface, but you can change these things as you go along to tune them better. Show window to start, we typically leave at 1. The rest of these you can just leave alone. So now we're going to head over to mock and we are going to load this file up and prep it for burn. So you can go ahead and zero out in XY on top of your material. And we're going to check a couple things before we start. We're going to want to turn our air assist to automatic, and we're going to want to make sure our laser deploy is at automatic as well. Also, there are 2 tabs under the laser tab. One is for vector power and one is for raster power. Since we're doing a raster, we are going to want to check the raster power and make sure that the overrides are at 100%. You can change these during a burn if you want. If you see that it's burning a little bit too dark, you can lower this down a little bit, or if it's not burning dark enough, you can raise it up. But for starters, we're going to make sure these are at 100%. You can get there by moving the sliders, or you can type in the number 100 in the top, and that will be exactly 100%. So now we're going to load our G-code. So we'll find that G-code that we just edited in our text editor and saved. We're going to load it up, and we're going to hit cycle start. And so it's going to say that your laser is deployed, and you must set a new Z offset. So if you've already zeroed over the top of your material with the touch plate and the laser, you can just press OK and move past this. If you haven't zeroed on top of your material, now is a good time to do it. You can see how to do that in our touch plate settings for the laser. And so right now it's going to wait for me to touch off to the top of the material. As I said, I've done that, so I'm just going to click Resume G-code. We'll get this warning box. I'll press OK to continue. So now we're moving to 0, and we're going to get into the laser raster. So one of the first things this is going to do is load up that file that we linked in our G-code to confirm that this is in fact the file that we want to burn. And this is, so I'm going to say yes. Now it's going to open another window, and this should be the same exact image that you just saw previously, because what's happened is Mach has taken that image in, processed it, and shown you here what the result is going to look like. So if you had this image mirrored in either direction, or you had the intensity reversed, that would be reflected here. So as long as this looks like what you want, you can say yes. And now it's going to warn you one last time that it is going to go ahead and burn this file. So I'm going to close these windows here because I'm ready to burn it. Press yes. So it's going to jog to the location, and it's going to move back and forth and burn this image. As this image is burning, you can check the progress of the burn, both by looking at what's on your laser on your table, or you can look at the laser raster stats down here. So it'll count the rows that it's doing. We're currently at about mid-30s out of 363 rows, and we've got about 5 minutes of time remaining. You can see when the laser is turning on and off here, and if you feel like you need to mess with the power settings, you can do so right here. And just like that, after a few minutes, our laser raster is done.